Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we have a very interesting and important topic, student loan forgiveness. If you are or were a student, or you plan to be, or you know someone who is or was or plans to be, it's a very important topic. And we'll talk about how you can have those loans forgiven and what some of the options might be. And you'll learn a lot about student loans, and we'll give you a very helpful website later so you can go back and look for additional information in case you missed anything. Our special guest today is John DiGregorio. He's with the National Student Loan Service Center here in Huntington, Long Island. And they're not a government organization, but they help students and graduates to minimize their loans and consolidate them, and we'll find out the many ways he can help you in the next few minutes. John, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thanks for having me on, Ken.
Okay, and let's start out before someone is going to college or, let's say, graduate school. What are some of their options in terms of helping to finance their education?
Right. Well, that's a great question, and many people. It depends. Some have tucked away for college on 529 plans, which obviously would be one of the better options. And unfortunately, there are some people who cannot get that process done. So there are different ways of achieving a student loan. One is a private loan, and the other would be a federal student loan.
Okay, and of course, students may qualify for some kind of grant from the school, whether it's academic or need-based.
Right, and even with that said, that will be deducted from the loan. That will be realized, but the net amount is what will need to be borrowed.
And these loans, if you've covered tuition, these can go toward your living expenses.
Correct. The loans that I'd really love to speak to you about more are the federal student loans because of the possibility of forgiveness, whereas the private loans do not come with that offer.
So they're a less favorite option on day one. You're better off getting the federal loans and thinking carefully before you obtain a private loan.
Absolutely. A federal student loan, I believe you should first, the child or the student himself should take out a loan under his name or her name. I believe you are allowed to receive anywhere between $10,000 to $11,000 a year in that type of loan. And as we all know today, that amount of money will probably not be enough to cover it. At which point there are other options, which would be a parent plus federal student loan, or at that point you may want to consider a private loan.
Okay, so, and before, it's only the student involved in the federal loan in terms of qualifying for it, and they might need someone to sign the loan with them for those other forms of loans?
Right, so there's two. In terms of the federal student loan, the actual student can receive a loan under his or her name, and then as you need more equity, you can then ask a parent to take out the loan under the parent's name.
Okay, but that would be a private.
No, that would be a federal student loan.
A federal
as well.
loan.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that. But are you still capped at the $10,000 or $11,000?
No, a parent would. There would be more leeway for a parent.
Okay, so, but they're still getting what is a federal loan, and that's what you said is a preferred loan.
Yes, it is.
Can a grandparent or an aunt or a friend or spouse help them out as well in that way?
Yes, they can.
Okay. And they don't have to be going to a public institution in order to qualify for the federal loan.
That is correct.
Okay, and it applies to graduate school as well?
Absolutely. And that's actually where the loans start really becoming larger and larger at that point.
Okay. And is the cap still 10 or 11,000?
No, that cap would be lifted.
And if a relative signs on, they can get an additional 10 or 11,000?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So the moral of the story is you want to be cautious in what loans you ask for. The federal loans are going to be the most flexible and cost the least down the road. So you want to maximize what you can get from those loans.
Correct.
And you should really consider seriously how much other money that you want to borrow, because it can be a burden at some point repaying all those loans, especially the private loans.
Right.
After you're done with your training, and perhaps you'll earn a lot of money, and perhaps you will not.
I mean, what happens typically is you borrow the money, and as you are going through your education, you are not asked to make any payments whatsoever until the part where you graduate, and then all of a sudden you will see a bill in the mail from your servicer asking for a certain amount of money on a monthly basis. That number is predicated on the amount of money that you borrowed and all the accruing interest that follows along with it.
So during schooling, interest accrues?
That is correct.
And the rate on the federal loan is probably going to be lower than the private loan?
That is true. Typically, a federal student loan right now, I see it around 6.5% for the student. For a parent, it would be somewhere around 7.5% to 8%.
And again, you can always discuss other options, with your financial advisor, home equity loan or some other ways to finance schooling.
That's true too, but the one thing we want to keep in mind is that a federal student loan, unlike a private loan, comes with a few positive points. One point is the loan forgiveness program, and this program is predicated on income and family size and not the amount that was borrowed and all the accruing interest. These plans do need to be recertified once a year, but you will be paying your loans back based on affordability versus the amount that you borrowed. The other important component to a federal loan is there is a death benefit. So God forbid, upon death, the loan dies with you. And there is also a permanent disability discharge that comes along with the federal loan, whereas a private loan does not have any of those three things that I just mentioned.
And do you have to ask for that? Let's say, while you're in school, the interest is accruing, but it's deferred till you graduate, and there's probably a grace period of several months before the first repayment has to be made.
Correct. I mean, once you graduate, there is a 6-month grace period, and then at that point, you will go into repayment. The mistake that most people make at that point is that they go into either a deferment or a forbearance because they cannot afford to make those payments at that time, because those payments are predicated on what you borrowed and the accruing interest, which is not affordable, whereas a income-driven repayment plan would be their best option. Unfortunately, most people do not realize that this even exists or how to navigate through it.
And we're going to come back and talk with that in greater detail with you in a moment. But sometimes you hear the term consolidating loans or refinancing them when a person's graduated. Is that something they need to do, or? Well,
in order to, unfortunately, a lot of people who have bad credit and they need to try to lose that bad credit, consolidation would work best for them, because consolidation will actually let you start from scratch and erase all your past sins. So in order to be into a forgiveness program, a consolidation is necessary. It is not a difficult task. It's basically taking all the loans that you have ever taken out and blending them into one, and this will also improve your credit because there'll be less credit lines regarding your student loans. It'll become one.
And your monthly payment will also be based on your income?
Once you decide to do this consolidation, the next step is to do a change of repayment. So typically, when you're first put into this loan, they're automatically putting you into either a standard or graduated repayment option. Clearly not your best option. At which point, as soon as you become in repayment, you can switch over to an income-driven repayment plan.
So that you can really do later on.
I would do that as soon as your loans are in repayment.
Because once you start doing that, you can take advantage of different programs out there to perhaps one day eliminate those loans.
Well, these programs will definitely be much more affordable. They will also be less of a term than what you originally took out. So, for instance, if you were in a 30-year repayment, you will then be in a 25-year repayment. So they will kind of shave off 5 years automatically off your loan. Those individuals who work either in public sector or in a non-for-profit organization, they are permitted to have a 120-month repayment plan, which is 10 years, again, based on affordability and family size. Once they fulfill the obligation of their loan, they are complete with their loan. If there was a balance that's left over, which is usually the case, that balance becomes forgiven.
And the monthly payment is also based on your income and your family size. It's not larger because you're paying it off sooner.
Right. The two components are definitely household size and income, and that's the reason why once a year there's an anniversary date and you need to re-up your income and your family size once a year.
And do you have to re-up your certification that you're still in that public field?
If you work in public sector and not-for-profit, there is a special form that needs to be filled out once a year, just attesting to the fact that you are a full-time employee and that you were in repayment, and that will start the clock in terms of the 120 payments that need to be made.
And so what kind of fields might this cover? Would it cover a teacher, a district attorney's office?
Anyone who receives a check from any type of government agency, that would definitely qualify. So yes, teachers, firefighters, police, sanitation, librarians, so on and so forth would qualify for public sector loan forgiveness, as well as most hospitals are non-for-profit organizations. They too would benefit from the public sector loan forgiveness.
And so a nurse or doctor who worked for the county or some type, or the Veterans Administration, they would benefit from
Correct.
that too.
So whether you are the surgeon or the custodian, it does not matter. You qualify for public sector loan forgiveness.
But you must ask for it, and you must do it right.
Yes. It just doesn't automatically happen. There are forms that need to be filled out, that need to be validated, and then once they are, you will get credit for it.
And this is the public service forgiveness, you said, gets wiped out after 10 years.
That is correct.
So then you could even leave that field and go to a more lucrative...
You can absolutely consider that.
And the military will probably be included too.
Yes, they are.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now. When we return, we'll talk about forgiveness for other people and those programs.
This program is brought to you by Nassau Community College, which offers a paralegal studies program. Students can major in paralegal studies while earning their associate's degree, or earn a paralegal certificate if they already have a college degree. These programs can even help you start a second career as a paralegal. It's a program for anyone who wants to work in a law office assisting lawyers, the government, or a position in an insurance company. More information about full-time, part-time, days, evenings, weekends, or online courses is available by calling 516-572-7774 or by email at paralegal@ncc.edu.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Doxton, Corker, and Sauer, here is a